I'm very honored and proud to present my paper in WSDM 2023. Our work called towards universal cross-domain recommendation and collaborated with Ant Group, Damo Academic, and the Xiaomi AI Lab. Here is the outline of this presentation. We start to explain the background. Before going on, we first to answer questions why we need cross-domain recommendation. Just like this example, real-world applications such as Amazon, TikTok always provide diverse service for users, including short video recommendation, music recommendation, and news recommendations. To support the different service, a straightforward idea is to deploy several models for specific service, just like the trained movie recommendation model to serve the movie service. However, as mentioned before, this architecture includes two major drawbacks. The first, this architecture could use all interaction data to influence users' diverse interests and easily hurt by the data sparsity and the cold start problem. Second, it is inefficiency to update numerous online models and waste many computation resources to update the model parameters. Therefore, to meet the latest industrial demands, the cross-domain recommendation is necessary to explore. It is not only considering the multiple service data to boost the target domain recommendation prediction results, but also could deploy online to make the several domains inference in parallel setting. In current cross-domain recommendation community, previous works have two different research purposes. For the first is intra-domain recommendation, which is designed for elevating the data sparsity problem. As shown in the first figure, the red dotted lines, which aims to fulfill and refine the user interest from multiple domains, and then recommend the in-domain items for in-domain users. For example, recommend the purple items for the yellow and purple users. The second branch of cross-domain recommendation is aimed to mitigate the cold start problem. It is first transform the user interest from source domain to the target domain, and then recommend some target domain items for the non-overlapped users. For example, recommend the book for the purple users. For the two different research purposes, the previous works always utilize different technical framework. For the intra-domain recommendation, the previous works utilize a joint learning paradigm to merge and refine the user item presentation learning process. For the inter-domain recommendation, the previous works utilize a pipeline learning paradigm, first pre-training the user item embedding for each domain, and then training a mapping function to align the overlapped users' representations. At last, using the mapping function to project the source domain user embedding to the target domain and to make the cross-domain recommendation. Although the previous framework achieves promising results, however, the cross-domain recommendation has many different training environments. We classify them from four aspects. The first is a domain member, and the second is domain overlapped elements, such as user overlapped in domains or item overlapped in domains, or have some side information or metadata or others, and have a non-overlapped element in the cross-domain. The second is the user item interaction types, such as the static interaction and the sequential interactions. The last is the downstream task, just like the mentioned before, intra-domain recommendation or inter-domain recommendation. However, there have mostly 32 different training settings, and the previous works mainly focus on a narrow scenario and lack the capability to adapt to other cross-domain scenarios. Motivated by this phenomenon, we consider a problem. Can we find a reasonable technical routine for all cross-domain recommendation tasks? To answer the question, we draw a toy figure to show our motivation. There are two domains, namely movie and book, which contains several shared and specific user preference on the item of user preference or item cluster signals. There we consider user overlap scenario. The shared user's preference, such as story topic or category, are domain invariant preference, which means a user probably shows similar and stable taste in multiple domains. Moreover, the specific user preference, such as writing style, could provide precise intra-domain recommendation information, which does not contribute to other domains. Next, we will show our learning process. The right figure is an overview of our framework. For better understanding, we express our framework under two domain settings. Two domains have some overlapped user settings. Especially, we introduced a two-tower framework to obtain the shared and the specific representation by the different interaction aggregator. Then, to enhance the shared and specific representation correlation, we apply the contrastive learning idea and devise cross-domain masking mechanism. At last, we train our model by a point-wise loss and adaptive different prediction way for intra and inter-domain recommendation. We first introduce our aggregator. In this work, we just propose a novel framework, but the aggregator architecture is not a key contribution of this work. Therefore, we only test three well-known modeling idea of our aggregator, such as the mean pooling aggregator, user attention-based aggregator, and the item similarity-based aggregator. For the mean aggregator, we simply average the interacted item representations. For the user pooling aggregators, we generate different attention weights for different items, and then obtain the weighted average results. For item similarity aggregators, we first pre-process the cross-domain item similarity matrix B and it to obtain a personalized item weights. And lastly, we obtain the weighted average results. Finally, we merge the aggregated item representation and the user's personal representation imbalance to obtain the final output. Here, H means the set of historical item interaction set. In this part, we explain our masking mechanism and the contrastive objective. We first adapt the widely used interaction mask method, just like the dropout, which randomly deletes some interacted items from the item set, and then utilize the masked item set for our shared and specific pooling aggregators. Then we introduce the domain mask, which is only effect to the shared aggregators, and aims to predict current domain items by other domains' interaction data. At last, we use a contrastive loss to enhance the correlation between domain shared and domain specific representation for same users. Based on the generated shared and specific user preference representation, we directly use a binary cross-entropy loss to optimize our model. In the evaluation process, as discussed before, we can make the intra-domain recommendation and the inter-domain recommendation at the same times. But for the inter-domain recommendation, we only use the shared representation to achieve the unbiased prediction. Besides, for the other different cross-domain settings, our universal framework can easily adapt it to the other task by the following changes. Next, we will show the extensive experiment results to validate our framework effectiveness. In this work, due to the content limitation, we only test 4 cross-domain scenarios, such as 2-domain, user overlapped, and intra-domain, and 2-domain, user overlapped, inter-domain, and multi-domain setting item overlapped intra-domain recommendation, and multiple domain user overlapped intra-domain recommendation. This table shows the detailed static information of the 4 scenario cross-domain recommendation datasets. To show the recommendation qualities, we use a full rank and sample the evaluation method with 1,000 item candidates. For the matrix, we use the NDCG and the hit rate to show the recommendation performance. This is our main experiments results. We only show 2 scenario results in this presentation, and the other 2 scenarios results can be found in our paper. From them, we can observe that our model reaches the comparable results than the others state-of-the-art baselines. To investigate the effectiveness of our framework others components, we conduct detailed ablation studies. The first is we use different aggregator for different tasks, and we find we need appropriate aggregator for different cross-domain results, such as the intra-domain, the user attention and the item similarity aggregator show better results than the mean pooling aggregator. And the second ablation studies is to show the effectiveness of our mask mechanism. We can find the first interaction masking mechanism achieves better performance in all the cross-domain scenario, but the domain masking mechanism only benefits in the inter-domain recommendation, but to be harmful the intra-domain recommendation. It is a really interesting phenomenon, and we will explore it in the future work. Besides, we also conduct other hypermeasurement analyses to show our model robustness. In summary, our work can be concluded as 3 points. The first, we highlight a universal perspective for cross-domain recommendation. Second, we propose a simple yet effectiveness framework. And third, we conduct extensive experiments on 4 scenario datasets and with many different baselines. Thanks for your listening, and our work are available in GitHub. Welcome to email me for any questions. Thank you very much.